So let's put some statistics and demographics to the issue of fraud and fraudsters. According to the Association of Certified Fraud Examiners, fraudsters are mostly male. They are mostly male in most cases. That is, as a fraud examiner, if you have 5 male and 5 female in a department where you are examining fraud, and you are sure that it's not all of them that are involved, it's just a single person or a collusion of 2-3 people, you should be looking more in the direction of the male. I'm not saying you should totally neglect the female, but male are more prone to fraud, according to statistics and demographics. Often married with children, that is, when you see fraudsters world over, we are not peculiarizing this to a particular country, but we are saying world over, they are actually married people with children, family people, the least expected, maybe because of pressure, maybe because of expectations, maybe because of, I don't know, but by statistics, they are actually people who have married and who have children, who have responsibilities. Then the age range always fall in between 36 and 45 years. That is, in most cases in organizations, you will see the fraudsters within the age of 36 and 45 years. Well, with that, I will say midlife crisis is actually real. It's actually real. Then we'll be looking at their education. Educationally, in most cases, and in big organizations world over now, we are not peculiarizing Nigeria or any African country. We are saying the fraudsters are actually well educated with degrees and certifications. That is, when you find fraudsters in organizations, especially, they are people with good educations, degrees, not just one single degree, certification, because they are intelligent, they can access them, they can find the loopholes, they can find ways to beat the system. Then their years of experience is usually 5 years or more. That means it's not just starters, because they are now used to the organizations. They've worked, they know the ins and outs, they know how to puppet, they've planned in most cases, or for this, to execute this heinous act for years. They've known what their predecessors did, they've seen the books, they've seen the loopholes, and how to take advantage of the control weaknesses. Then, in most cases, they occupy positions of trust in the organizations and community. Because, to be sincere, before you can actually perpetrate a fraud of of any significance, maybe into millions of dollars and all that, you must actually occupy a managerial position, so to say, in an organization, because there are some things you can't access, especially in this technologically advanced world. It's not like they are keeping cash in the office that you can just go and break. Everything is online now. Everything is so digitalized. So, and you don't have access to all this in most cases unless you are in the position of trust. Maybe you have password to just wire a good chunk of the organizational resources without any recourse and all that. So these are the demographics, so that we can be able to appreciate as fraud examiners what we are, the categories and statistics of people we are looking into, because the work of a fraud examiner, so to say, at the end of the day, has a lot to do with psychology. It's not like they put the facts on the table that this is where the fraud is, this is the person we are suspecting. You have to be able to read mind, so to say. You have to be able to use, out of experience and statistics and the industry averages, these are what I should expect. These are places I should be looking into. So that is all about. Then we'll be looking at the impact of fraud. The impact of fraud. Because as fraud examiner, or as even auditors and forensic accountants, you must appreciate the impact, the negative impact fraud has on us as people in our country and world over. According to ACFE, the estimated loss to fraud in the US per annum, we are taking US alone now, because most of these other countries where fraud is really prevalent, in places like African countries here, we don't have statistics to even measure what the impact of fraud is, because our economy at the end of the day is ruled by fraud. So estimated loss to fraud in the US is estimated at 5% of the GDP per annum. Do you know what 5% of GDP of US is? So if you put their GDP down, what goes to fraud out of it is estimated per annum at 5%. That's significant. That's very serious. So if in a place like US where there are measures and this and that, we can be talking about 5%. What are we going to be talking in a place like Nigeria or India or all these fraud-prone countries? There's no reasonable estimate of fraud and losses to fraud in most of highly corrupt countries of the world. We don't have statistics. We don't even have statistics for better things like our inflation. We don't have correct statistics in most African countries. We don't have correct statistics as regards to our GDPs, not to talk of amount that goes into fraud. So this is one of the reasons why it's difficult to fight or prevent or deter or investigate fraud in Africa. For instance, what do you think is the percentage of the amount that goes to fraud out of our GDP annually? What? As any of our agencies that are managing or are in charge of this, have they been able to come up with an estimate over years? Even the ones they've been able to detect that, okay, a governor looted to this amount, they after some years will come and say it's not. So how do we verify? These are the challenges we have as fraud examiners in a place like Nigeria. Which country is most affected and exposed to fraud? Is it the developed and developing countries? Of course, it's the developing countries, because there are no systems to start with. I usually tell people that, do you think a typical human being, because a typical human being is a typical human being anywhere in the world, it's just the system that refrains people from behaving in beastly and animalistic manner. Do you think, as a person, if there are no system, a president in US doesn't want to steal, doesn't want to convert, doesn't want to be corrupt and use the influence of his office wrongly, but there are systems, check and balances, and there are people, because it's people at the end of the day that drive systems, and there are people that are willing to what? To maintain these institutions, as we will be seeing in some case studies as we go along in this course, where internal controls that are on the payroll of an organization brought down massive fraud in the organization. Like, this cannot happen under my watch. Meanwhile, in a place like Nigeria, you will see an auditor, an internal auditor, even external auditor, being a yes man to the management of an organization, or to the management of a public sector or government agency. It's not meant to be. We, as fraud auditors and fraud examiners and forensic accountants, we have duties. This is what is lacking in Africa. You've never seen a politician, in most cases in Africa, resigning because they allege him of fraud. These are rampant things out there, because their system is expected of you to step down. Just stay off. You will see people trying to justify what is not. That is the impact of fraud world over. And I want to say and submit that Africa and Nigeria, we are special case study. So in most of our case studies, we will use a case study in one of the advanced countries and a case study in a system like Nigeria or Africa, because we are actually special. We can't generalize. Africa is an exceptional, negatively exceptional case.